Our speaker today is Mr. Lim Keng Yeow. There we go. He's from Covenant. Yes, please give him a big hand. And he's from Covenant EFC, and he will be sharing on developing a senior ministry framework. Now, if you look at the description of his talk, it is church ministry among seniors is often not well developed. It's lacking clear direction and vision. Actually, this assertion was actually written by me, and it grew from this sensing that we got from our initial focus group sessions. And since Keng Yeow was part of one of the earlier group sessions, and I was pretty impressed by what he said, I then invited him to share with us the Covenant EFC experience. And hence the second part of the description, which is this session features practical insights from the seniors ministries at Covenant EFC. The session will explore the calling to serve seniors, core convictions that shape effective ministry, challenges faced, and the foundational beliefs every ministry needs. We also heard great ideas from other people in the focus group. So when we say, the last bit, join us as we explore together practical strategies for structuring and organizing meaningful and impactful seniors ministry, what we are actually saying is, let's learn from the experiences of one particular well-developed and well-thought-through ministries, but let's press on to learn from each other as we gather in meetings such as this. Now, we want to start someplace, and we have to start someplace, and we need a voice to come up and at least give us some input, initial input, and then almost like we put a comma after that, and we continue that long sentence. So today I want to invite Keng Yeow to help us to open that conversation on developing senior ministry.
Good afternoon. Welcome all of you. So good to see you here. I have a question that I want to pose to you before I even begin my slides. What was your earliest impression of seniors ministry? What's the earliest impression? Maybe your earliest impression could have been decades ago. Could have been when you were, I don't know, in teenage years for some of you, maybe 20 years ago for some of you. But what was your earliest impression of seniors ministry or seniors in your church? Your earliest impression. Okay, could I get us to do something? Could you humor me a bit? Meetings like this, you don't just want to talk to people that you're familiar with, right? You want to learn from people from other churches, talk to people from other churches as well, network a bit as well. Could you go to one person that you haven't met yet and share this with the other person? Yeah, introduce yourself quickly and share this, your earliest impression of seniors ministry or of seniors, Christian seniors in your church generally. Okay, go ahead. Let's do that. Was it a positive impression? Was it a not so positive impression? Okay, the second person should be sharing now. Second person should be sharing now. Okay, if I could get us back together again. Maybe half a minute or so. Okay, let's hear from one another. Let's hear from one another. If I could get us back together again. Okay, if I could have your attention, please. Yeah, look this way, please. Very excited. I love the discussion, love the buzz here. Okay, how many of us had impressions of seniors and seniors ministries when we were younger? Okay, our earliest impression of seniors and seniors ministry. How many of us had impressions that were positive? Okay, good. Some of us. Fantastic, wonderful. How many of us had impressions that were not so positive? Not so positive. Not many of us. Okay, good. So seem like most of us had impressions that are positive, maybe some neutral, some maybe not so positive. Of those of us who have impressions that were positive, what are some impressions that you had? Seniors ministries were vibrant. Ooh. What else? Plenty of time. So meet for many long hours. Okay, what else? Very rich. Wow, a lot of money. Okay, what else? Well connected. Seniors ministry is well connected. Okay, what else? What are the positive impressions you might have? Serve others too. Fantastic. Okay, so those were some positive impressions that we had. Some of us have impressions that maybe not so positive. What were your impressions of seniors ministries? Your earliest impressions when you were younger? Anyone? Deadly silence. Yes.
For my experience, for my own church, the senior fellowship form was not cohesive enough because everybody just treat it as a fellowship group. You come for the meetings, you have a meal together. After that, everybody go back. So there was not much of a spiritual connection.
Not much of spiritual connection. Yeah. Okay, let me give an overview of what I intend to cover this afternoon. I think I will cover some of the things that we have already been talking about. And so these are some things I hope to cover. First half of my talk, I hope to cover some foundational beliefs, some shaping forces even. Not just foundational beliefs, some challenges that seniors ministries may face, some demographic realities that affect all of us, some core convictions that helped me and helped seniors ministry in Covenant. Then, after the break, I intend to go on to ministry structure and organization, how we in Covenant EFC have been doing it, have been running our seniors ministry. So locating it within CFC, our platforms that we have, leadership, and towards the end, we have questions, comments, and concluding remarks. So I need to preface what I'm saying, and I think Dr. Kevin has done it very well. This is what I'm presenting to you is not the model answer. We never dare to think that it is. We never pretend that it is. In fact, what I am sharing with you is not even intended to be entirely prescriptive. It's intended to be descriptive of what we are doing. Is it the best way? I don't believe so. There is so much we have to learn as well from other ministries. But yeah, it is one way. I guess if someone has to come and start sharing from their own experience, well, okay, might as well be us. But the whole idea is to get a conversation going so that we can explore further, talk further, and together bring about thought leadership. We don't pretend to have it. We want to work together with people from other churches and bring about a certain measure of thought leadership in this area. Develop this together. So this is just a starting point, if you like. Intended mostly to be descriptive of what we do. You take back whatever you feel you can, adapt whatever you feel you can, discuss further, and we talk further in subsequent sessions or other opportunities, and we shape this thing together. Sounds good? Yep. Okay. So, challenges of senior ministry. Seniors ministry, for some years, was involved in seniors ministry. In fact, in leading seniors ministry. So my earliest impressions for myself came from some stories that she would tell. And she would tell us how in running seniors ministry, I'm sure it's different now, but back in those days, seniors ministry, one thing I remember her saying was that if you don't have food, nobody will come. You must provide food, or then the people will start coming. And people sometimes come in time for food. Before that, not so important. Food time, very important. And then they have line dancing. Okay, nothing wrong with line dancing. But she mentioned that the line dancing, that caused some problems. Why? Because this person was accusing other people of stealing her dance partners. And so that caused a lot of problems. A lot of relational problems in the group. So some of these things, unfortunately, shaped my impression of seniors ministry. And it didn't seem like very positive. If I was sitting amongst you and asked to share my earliest impressions of seniors ministry, my own impressions would unfortunately have been not so positive. Doesn't sound like something I would want to be, I want to volunteer to be part of. No, if my senior pastor throws me there, oh yeah, no choice, kena this, tao mei. Tao mei means bad luck, okay? Bad fortune. And no choice, have to do it. Doesn't sound like something I would raise my hand for, much less give myself to. But the seniors ministry does suffer from a number of deficits, doesn't it? A confluence, if you like, of deficits. What kind of deficits? Image deficit. When we think of, I was just asking, I had lunch with two of my leaders from my seniors ministry. So I was asking them, what's your earliest impression of seniors ministry? The immediate answer was, lao lang ke. Lang ke means aged people, elderly people, very slow-moving, very, what else? What are connotations of lao lang ke? Loso, okay. That's the image, right? That's the image people have of seniors ministry. Up to now in Covenant, if I were to try to talk to some people about seniors ministry, about joining us, the person will say, I'm not that old. The reality, she's older than me. Image deficit. We think of seniors ministry as being for, if you don't have a walking stick, you're not in a wheelchair, no, you're not quite fit for seniors ministry. Image deficit. What other deficits are there? Strategic deficit. You run a church, you lead a church, you have so many different ministries, you have limited budget, leaders. Where do you place your money? Where do you place your budget? Youth! Younger people looks more strategic, right? You place your money at the more visible kind of ministries. Ministries that generate interest, that send a buzz, excite the whole church, move the whole church forward. You might want to do something like that. You and I. Makes sense, right? Seniors ministry doesn't sound strategic at all. Putting money into a black hole. Where does the money go? Disappears, Is it worth doing that or not? What are the deficits? Resource deficit as a result. Because of the image deficit, because of the strategic deficit, why put so much money? Why put capable leaders there? Don't need, doesn't matter, just run some activities, engage the seniors, have some sense of community. Enough already. Why try and do so much? Don't need to put in so much resources into it. Linked to that, a motivational deficit from amongst the seniors, from within the seniors ministry. Don't feel motivated at all. After all, nobody believes in us anyway. I have seniors who, when I was trying to make some changes to seniors ministry, they will tell me, the first thing they will tell me is, the church is always talking about the next generation. Next generation, youth. Right? And it seems like maybe not so important. I don't necessarily agree with them that the church has been emphasizing the next generation at the expense of seniors. I don't necessarily agree with that observation, but I can understand that from their point of view. That's how at the receiving end it seems like. And because of that, the church doesn't believe in us anyway, so no sense of motivation, just do some harmless activities, kill some time, come together, have a meal, sing a couple of songs, and be done. Finish. That's seniors ministry. Not much motivation. Along with that, leadership deficit. Nobody's really leading seniors ministry. Yeah, we may be organizing seniors ministry. Yeah, we may be running seniors ministry. But who is really leading seniors ministry? The way youth ministry calls for leaders. The way missions calls for leaders. The way community outreach calls for leaders. Who is really leading seniors ministry? Can't quite see that sometimes. And perhaps, leadership in deficit, there's also this thought leadership thing. If we look at all those books that have been written on children's ministry, books that have written on youth ministry, books that have written on young adults, books that have written on even marketplace discipleship, compared to books that have written on seniors ministry. I haven't done a count myself. I suspect you and I know the answer. Unlikely to be that many books written on seniors ministry. So where's the thought leadership in seniors ministry? Big deficit. And linked to all that, a vision deficit as well. Hardly anyone comes up with a vision for seniors ministry. Oh yeah, we can have a vision for so many other ministries in our churches. But is there really a vision, a sense of vision, a compelling vision, a stirring vision, an inspiring vision for seniors ministry? Have you heard one? Maybe not that many of us have. Blessed are you if you have. Maybe not that many. And so, with all these deficits, think of seniors ministries. Maybe sometimes the reality is seniors ministry is a bit like a Nazareth. What is this Nazareth thing? Nathaniel and who was it now? Had a conversation in John 1:46. Help me with this. I'm forgetting this information. Nathaniel had a conversation with who? Okay, can't remember. It doesn't matter. So there was a conversation, and this other person was telling Nathaniel, come and see this Jesus, he is from Nazareth. And Nathaniel's answer was, can anything good come out of Nazareth? That's almost the kind of thinking people have towards seniors ministry. Can anything good come out of seniors ministry? Along with that, let's look at some demographic realities that confront us. So first, something that will be very familiar for all of us. Longer life expectancy, lower birth rates means an aging demographic, aging population. So is it largely true globally? Maybe with the exception of Global South, perhaps largely true globally. So worldwide population age 60 and up, according to WHO figures, 2020, 1 billion. 2030, 1.4 billion. 2050, 2.1 billion, increasing. What about birth rates? I don't have any stats up there. I think we all know we are way below replacement rate, right? Singapore, not to mention Japan, Korea, China, way below replacement rate. US, all developed countries, way below. So what's the result of all these things? This is the population pyramid in Singapore. On the left side is males, right side is females. The dots will be 2014, and the solid color will be 2024. So one look at this chart, those of you who are familiar with population pyramids, you will see that initially it was slightly more bottom heavy. Now it's moved up 10 years, just in 10 years, a lot more top heavy. And what does that tell you? Aging population. Aging population. True of Singapore. Is that largely true of our churches as well? You notice that in your churches? Aging population in our churches? So 2024, you might have a makeup, something like this. Can you see the part in red? The part in red says average age. So average age is around where the word younger is. So what about 2024? You may see a shift, something like this. Fewer children, fewer young. This is assuming that, it's a terrible assumption, but assuming the church doesn't do any evangelism, doesn't reach out to anybody, there are no new people coming in. Terrible assumption, but holding all things equal, this is what it looks like. You see the average age moving up towards seniors. There are many implications of this. Some implications are, of course, we do need to reach young people, right? Otherwise, somebody has said that Singapore is going extinct. Who said that? Elon Musk. Elon Musk said Singapore is going extinct. He might as well say our churches are going extinct as well. All things equal, that's what will happen. If you just look at demographics, pure demographics. So there are many implications. We need to reach out to our young people. But as far as seniors ministry goes, all of us, seniors ministry age, we are occupying a bigger part of the pie in church. If this were a church, for example, if this were a church congregation, seniors from one small portion, usually at the back, right? they're expanding, they're creeping, the numbers are creeping. Average age is going up. In Covenant, we have three centers. Bukit Panjang Center, where I am based, the average age now is about early 50s. I don't know whether that's so in your churches. One of our younger centers, the average age is maybe about late 30s. The other, Bukit Panjang, early 50s easily. So can we still afford to view seniors ministry as a Nazareth? Nothing good can come out of it. Can we afford that? Next reality. Significant longer life expectancy as against retirement age. So, longer life expectancy is increasing. Retirement age also creeping up a bit, right? Now it's 63, it's increasing. But it means that with this significantly longer life expectancy as against retirement age, there will be more post-retirement years. Let me show you what I mean. 1950s. Working life was until when? In those days, there was, I did a search on DeepSeek. So DeepSeek tells me that in those days, there was no official retirement age. Right? If you believe DeepSeek, I think that's probably true. No official retirement age, 1950s. So, but DeepSeek tells me that most people worked until about 55 or so, 55 and 60. Okay, so fine. So retirement age around then. What was their life expectancy? Something like 60 to 65. Life expectancy. Yeah. Anyone familiar with this term? 60大寿. Some of us, okay, it means 60th big birthday. Something like that. In the 1950s, if you lived to 60, it was quite a big deal. That's why there's this thing called 60大寿. You hear anyone saying 60大寿 today? It's a joke, right? Who makes a big deal of 60? Like, kind of we all expected, right? If you live to 80, 85, 90, 100, okay lah, 100大寿, 100 big birthday and 100, 90 maybe. 60大寿, 60th big birthday, that was a big thing in those days. That's why many of us, we know this term. So that was like then. What about now? Working life retirement age, okay, about 63, between 60 to 65. Life expectancy has shot up. 83 perhaps. Okay, slightly longer for the women. But what do you see in this chart? There's one big thing that you see here. Can you see the golden portion? How many years did people in the 50s have post-retirement? Just a few short years, right? And those few short years may not be very healthy, productive years as well. What about now? What do we have now? How many years is that? Can you count for me? 20? Is that 20 years? About 20 years, yeah? And out of these 20 years, how many will be productive and purposeful years? Potentially purposeful years? I would imagine still quite a lot. Far more than before. Not just the total quantity of years, but the number of productive, potentially, I must emphasize, potentially productive and purposeful years. Sure, I mean, towards the end, it may be more trying, maybe not so productive, but we still have good 10, 15 productive years, 20 productive years. What are we to do with that? What should the church be telling our people before that? So, and this leads some to say that there needs to be a new definition of our life stages as well. Martin Wolf said this in the Financial Times once. He said, it's going to be necessary to work longer, and require several changes in one's career over a lifetime. Instead of one period of education, one of work, one of retirement, it will make sense for people to mix the three up. People will go back to study repeatedly. They will take breaks repeatedly. They will change what they do repeatedly. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's unpack this statement a little bit. Unpack this statement. So in traditional view, life has three very distinct thirds. And the distinct thirds will be training and preparatory years, our childhood years. Then the productive years, the burden-bearing years, building up our career, raising our families, and so on. That's the middle third. And the final one-third will be our retirement years, our leisure, years of leisure, and our, I can't even read, twilight years, okay. Twilight years. So very distinct thirds. Recent years, maybe, okay, there's some blurring of the boundaries. Right? People who are in their 20s start to take up some part-time work, start working early, and then people in their 60s perhaps try and do some part-time work as well while they begin to enjoy their retirement. So some blurring of the fuzzy, become more fuzzy at the boundaries perhaps. But what was Martin Wolf talking about? The emerging reality. I think he's saying this, that we are only confident of the two ends. Okay, sure, there will be a period of time in the earlier years where that's our preparation years, our childhood years, and towards the end, maybe, a few years where it will be our really the retirement years. But in between that, he's saying that not quite what it was like before. Yeah, not quite that. This thing over here. What is that? Gap year! Gap year! Barely studied, haven't earned a single cent. I want to go away for 1 year. Now, those of you who are seniors here, how many of us had a gap year after we finished working? Wow! Very rare during our time, I think. Unimaginable even during our time. Can you imagine telling your parents that? Your parents will think you're crazy. You better be out there earning money. Start paying your tuition loans. Start contributing to the family coffers. What do you mean gap year? But this is becoming standard practice almost. So common these days, right? Okay, so they start having a gap year before they start working, and then they may go on to some, may work for some period of time, and then may do some studies after that. It could be on a part-time basis, alongside work, and then towards the end, we have also something like this. Martin Wolf is probably telling us this. Final one-third, not distinctly, relax, enjoy yourself, amuse yourself to death, but a mix of all these things. In a sense, that's been my journey from here. After I left my workplace, went away for studies, did theological studies, did a bit of vacationing as well, came back, started work, and as a pastor, my church gives us a sabbatical after 7 years. I'm in my late 50s. I don't think I can wait 7 years for my sabbatical. So I'm planning that couple of years' time, I may take a 3-month sabbatical, 6-month sabbatical, use that to learn up some things that I wanted to learn. Yeah. So a bit like what Martin Wolf was talking about. Now with this is the season we're talking about, right? All you and I, we are most concerned over for today. This season over here. What should the church be saying to our seniors? How then are we to live? I suspect many of our seniors could still be thinking like this over here. I've slogged all these years. It's my time to relax. What have I worked all these years for? Ask me to serve in this? No, it's okay. There are so many other people. There are younger people. Call the younger people. I don't think I can. Scripture memory, you must be kidding. I don't have any, I have no brain cells left for something like this. Community outreach, door-to-door evangelism, been there, done that. Thank you very much. Talk to the palm. What should we be telling our seniors? Well, still in this mentality over here. For me, oh gosh, I've been talking for half an hour already. Okay, let's see how quickly we can get through this before we take a break. Some core convictions that I started with when I went into seniors ministry. This was 2019 onwards. I can still see that page of my journal when I was journaling this. I was seeking the Lord for direction. I was a lay pastor then. I still held on to, I still was in my day job. So as a lay pastor then, I was seeking the Lord for direction. And then I began suddenly to think about seniors ministry. Now you must understand, for me to think about seniors ministry is with my background and the kind of input into my brain, given the stories that I hear from my mother-in-law, not natural. So somehow seniors ministry began to be planted in my mind. And I journaled a number of things. Some of the things I journaled, I share with you now. Not entitled time, but entrusted time. We think of this as entitled time. Remember the bar just now? I've done my time. I've been this and that. Don't disturb me now. It's my entitlement. But could we think of it differently? You have all this time in front of you. It's an entrustment. If I'm calling you to certain things, it's to make it easier for you to give an account on that day. I'm helping you. Because you have to give an account for your own life, not me. With all this time ahead of you, entrusted to you, what are you going to do? So these were some convictions that began to form in me. Now, you must understand, left to me, I am the ultimate, I've been there, done that. Don't disturb me. I've been a lay pastor even while holding on to my job. So I've served in different capacities. Even in a church like Covenant, quite big. I was a worship pastor, I was prayer pastor, I've overseen CGs as a lay person. So to me, I'm one of the, I can fully understand because I totally identify with that kind of thinking. Give some token service and then don't disturb me. It's my time to relax. So these were some convictions that came about. Hezekiah, 2 Kings 20:19. Did Hezekiah start well? He started very well. The author of 2 Kings says, in fact, there was among the kings of Judah, there was none like him before, and there was none like him after. Hezekiah started so well. But towards the last 15 years of his life, some things happened. There was this Babylonian invoice episode most of us will be familiar with. They came to visit him. He showed them everything that he had, all the wealth that he had. After that, Isaiah came to ask him about this. What happened? Oh, showed them everything. And Isaiah told him something. The years are coming where all these things that you show him will be carried off to Babylon. Your own sons are going to be eunuchs in the court of Babylon. What was Hezekiah's response? Hezekiah's response was, I had better fast and pray. No! That should have been his response. His response was, what you said is good. Because there will be peace and security in my days. Wow. Started off so well. All that he was concerned about towards the end of his life, peace and security in my days. I mean, who doesn't want peace and security, right? In our older age. Who doesn't want that? I want that. Who doesn't want to go, leave this world in a bed with a family or by my side? Who doesn't want that? But that was all he was after. That there was peace and security in his days. It was the end of his life. Couldn't think of anything else. If you have time, take a look at the contrast with his grandson, Josiah. Josiah was told of some impending judgment. Immediately he acted on this. Hezekiah, unfortunately, no. What happened to Hezekiah, as opposed to some other books that I was reading around that period of time, that reminded me and spoke to me of these things? Go down fighting. Wow. Very un-me, It's very unlike me. I'm looking forward to, after all those years of been there, done that, I'm looking to slowing down, enjoy my retirement. Go down fighting. Very foreign to me. There was something in there that drew me, that I found challenging, alluring even, about that idea. Go down fully spent, fully used up. every potential fully exploited, no potential left, no stone left unturned. Everything fully used up. I began to see that. That began to tug at my heart. I began to want that for myself. Army of intercessors. I told you that some time ago I led the prayer ministry in my church. I led a team of intercessors in my church. Seniors, 70s, 80s. Can they still be contributing? Latter years of our lives. No, not mobile anymore. Walking stick, wheelchair bound. Do we still have a contribution? If nothing else, this one area, intercession. Can it be that even in those days, even in that point of our lives, we can be movers of heaven and earth, shakers in the spiritual realm, movers and shakers in the spiritual realm through our intercession, through prayer? Anyone has examples, as models of that for you in your own life? I hear of some. I hear of some older people, fiery in their prayers. Well, what we want is really people who have a sense of a gentle spirit. But once they start praying, the whole roof seems to be falling. The whole room seems to be shaking. Can that be you and I? And this is some things that seized me. Raise up an army of intercessors, contributing, making a difference right to the end, even if in no other way. Word and Spirit seniors. Well, my church is a largely word-based church. I've had my own experiences in the Spirit, and I felt they made a huge difference in my life. If no other point before, I want to see a confluence of this in seniors, flowing with the empowering of the Spirit. I'm not sure about your theology concerning the spiritual gifts. I personally am not a cessationalist. I believe the gifts continue to exist. I believe they are to be eagerly sought for, as Apostle Paul says. And I want this for my seniors. If any age group can handle the balance, it must be seniors who are able to handle that and not go haywire. Word and Spirit seniors. Two expressions from World War II. Finest hour. Who is the person who popularized this? Finest hour. World War II. Winston Churchill. Yeah, Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was at one point deciding, do we engage the Germans or do we enter into a peace deal? And that really exercised him. He didn't know what to do. I didn't read the books, the real history. I saw the movie. So in the movie, he wasn't sure what to do. So he went to the subway. He was there talking to some people. And so some people told him, we should fight. We got to fight them. And then somehow that solidified his resolve. And after that, we know that the speeches that he made, right? Unifying the people to fight the Germans. And you remember this his famous finest hour speech. Even if the empire, British Empire, were to last for 1,000 years, let it be said that this season, this period of time right now, is our finest hour. Almost his exact words, I think. Finest hour has got to do with adversity. Finest hour is never times when it's plain sailing. Everything is easy. Everything is going well. What other period in life could it be? Beset with adversities of different kinds, losses of different kinds. But finest hour. R.T. Kendall wrote a book, released recently, September, October last year. And he entitled it, Their Finest Hour. And he was writing about various ones. The book had stories of different individuals in their finest hour. And I haven't read the book, but I heard an interview he was giving about the book. And in the interview, he picked David as an example. Now, most of us would think David's finest hour was kill Goliath. Became a household name overnight, celebrated overnight. R.T. Kendall says, no. The finest hour is most unlikely to be those times when, wow, so glamorous, so impressive, so applauded by everybody. The finest hour is far more likely to be moments of tough obedience. The world may not even see it, but God sees it. And God marks that as the finest hour. And R.T. Kendall was writing this about David, a time when he was fleeing from Absalom. Absalom was coming after him from the south. David was fleeing because he knew things weren't looking good. The priest came to meet him, carrying the Ark of the Covenant. Shall we go with you? Of course we will go with you. We are loyal to you. And what did David say? Go back. Go back. If the Lord is pleased with me, He will bring me back. If the Lord is not pleased with me, here am I. Here am I. The Lord do to me whatever pleases Him. He had Zadok and after the chief, the priest, the luminary figures coming in support of him. That was the moment in time where he needed support the most. Put yourself in his shoes at that point in time. Your own son coming after you, having to flee for your life. He needed support the most. But enough sense of surrenderedness to say, I'm in the Lord's hands. My times are in His hands. His finest hour. And I began to be gripped by this idea. Could it be? Could it be? The world will never see it this way, but could it be that in our final 1/3 of our lives, this could be our finest hour? Even if it could be, it won't be automatically so. I don't believe it will be automatically so. Cruise along and it will be your finest hour. I don't believe that. I believe it calls for me to live in a certain way, a certain intentionality, a certain purposefulness, a certain sense of vision that makes it my finest hour. Eclipses the past. For most of us, middle 1/3 would have been what we achieved the most. You were this, you were that, help lofty titles. In the final 1/3, will you hold those lofty titles? Unlikely. Can it still be finest hour? If you understand the way God sees it, then you begin to see, yeah, entirely possible. It's not the way the world views it. What the world's impressed by, lofty titles, assets, appearances. But the way that God sees it, could this be our finest hour? Next expression from World War II, awakening a sleeping giant. When did this come about? Awakening a sleeping giant. I don't know whether you watch Torah. What was that movie about? Pearl Harbor. Okay. So Pearl Harbor, the Japanese, dealt such a blow to the American fleet. Right? Destroyed so much of so many of some battleships and so on. Towards the end, you would expect the Japanese commander-in-chief to be jubilant. But in the movie, I don't know about reality, but in the movie, he wasn't. In the movie, he was very solemn. There was a strong sense of gravity upon him. And he said in the movie at least something like this, I fear that all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and to fill him with great resolve. See the gravity of it? What is this idea of a sleeping giant? Giant in that full of power, full of potential, but sleeping, dormant. And I began to wonder to myself, look, so many seniors may think, I can't do anything. My days are past. My day is over. I'm going into the night. I might as well go quietly into the night. Sure, even if it's just those few hours left, but not just one person, collectively, seniors together, uniting together, do we have a sleeping giant? Untapped. When in most churches, for one reason or another, may not see this as strategic, You see other ministries, younger people, as perhaps more strategic, not difficult to understand. But do we have a sleeping giant here? Untapped potential. In the kingdom, there are not all that many sleeping giants left. A lot of potential has been tapped. People realize it. A lot has been worked on. Could it be that seniors ministries, could it be that it's one of few remaining sleeping giants? A movement of seniors. Not just one church, not just one ministry, but together. Look, all these issues that we talked about just now, is it unique to your church? Is it unique to Covenant? I don't think so. Is it even unique to Singapore? Could Malaysian churches, for example, Indonesian churches in the cities, could they have this issue as well? Indonesia, full of big churches, thousands. Could they have older people who may feel the same way as well? Imagine a movement of seniors arising together, saying to one another, let's awaken this sleeping giant and fill it with tremendous resolve. And let's see what happens. It'll be something the world hasn't seen. It's time for us to take a break. I have not covered all that I wanted to cover before we take a break, but I think it's a good time for us to take a break. We come back later, and then I'm going to talk about our ministry mission statement, unwrap it a bit, and talk about how we do a ministry in Covenant. 10 minutes? Yep. What could go into a mission statement of a seniors ministry? What are some things that could go into a seniors ministry mission statement? I mean, we don't want mission statements and just go on the wall, go on the website, and nobody bothers with it. Those nice looking thing, but not real in practice. We want mission statements that truly guide the organization, guide the fellowship, the people, meaningful, that really state what they are about. What should go into a mission statement for seniors ministry? Think about it for a moment. Some of us may have already crafted one for your ministry, but if you haven't, imagine yourself crafting one. What would you want to see in there? Okay, let me share ours with you. Okay, let me share ours with you. Establishing a final third community centered on the King, purposed around the kingdom, and intentional over making this our finest hour in personal discipleship and service. Let's try and unwrap this a bit. Establishing a final third community. If we think of our lives as like let's say 3/3 of various people will apportion it different ways. Some in quarters. But I like this final third idea. In my church, seniors ministry is 55 and up. In your church, it could be different. Maybe for you it's 65 and up, 60 and up. Yeah, it just so happened that in my church, it's 55 and up. I think it's a good thing. So 55 and up, final 1/3 of our lives. Are we very mathematical about this? No, we are not. Yeah, we see it as more of a season of life thing. For many, you feel that your kids are pretty much grown up, you're nearing retirement, you can see the end in front of you, or you're already retired. You feel you're more or less there, right? So it doesn't have to be a mathematical thing. Final 1/3 of our lives, and I like the emphasis on final. It reminds me that I don't have another 1/3 after that. I don't have another. Got to make this one count. So final third community. Now this might be a bit challenging in Covenant because our main ministry, as I'll talk about later, our main ministry is a small group ministry, meaning our Covenant groups. So that's our primary locus of ministry, primary location of ministry. But we still want this to be a community. We don't want it to be like just, people come and then do some activity and off they go. And it could really be gathered isolation. Gathered isolation. I don't want that. We want to form a community. I've seen gathered isolation. I used to work around Chinatown area, People's Park area. And if you're familiar with People's Park area, there's People's Park Center, and there's OG, and outside OG, there's this bit of a courtyard. And in the courtyard, you will see people there, gathered there. Who are the people you see there? Elderly people? Male or female? Males. What are they doing there? Staring blankly, a vacant look in their eyes. I walk by that place a lot. I see that all the time. And that was one of the things that out of which I felt a sense of calling to seniors ministry. Because that could easily become me. I could easily become like that. And that to me is gathered isolation. Yeah, they come there every day. Every day they are there. They see the same people around every day. Do they talk to each other? No. Still completely isolated. So, a final third community. Final third community that's centered on the King. Read Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom, all in its righteousness. A sense of orientation around the King. Not orientation around my entitlements in this stage of my life. Not orientation around, where to travel to, what good food to eat. Around my pains, around how to keep healthy, good as those things may be. We encourage people to talk about where to travel to next and good food and all that. That's fine, that's perfectly fine. But do we orientate around those things? Totally different thing, right? So a sense of centeredness, a sense of orientation around the King, purposed around the kingdom, a sense of purposefulness. Remember? 12 years, 15 years, 20 productive, potentially purposeful years. Purpose, and there must be a purposefulness, and must be purposefulness around the kingdom. And intentional. That's one thing that's sets the boys and apart from the men, I think, set the men apart from the boys in this season of our lives. Intentionality. Psalm 90. Teach us to number our days. Number our days. Numbering our days has nothing to do with arithmetic. Nothing to do with mathematics. Everything to do with intentionality. Number, count them, so that we are intentional over them. Intentional over making this our finest hour. As mentioned before, don't assume that as we get older, we get wiser. Who is the embodiment of wisdom in the Bible? Solomon. When he got older, did he get wiser? Unfortunately not. So you and I, don't we dare assume wisdom always comes with age. Worldly wisdom maybe. Scriptural wisdom, living the way God calls us to live, does it necessarily come with age? Not necessarily. Scary. And the whole world equates white hair with wisdom. We had better be the first ones to say, not necessarily. Be wise enough to be able to say that. So intentional over making this our finest hour. Through how we live, through the choices that we make over our lives, through being intentional, making this our finest hour. In finest hour, in what areas? Can this be my finest hour? Oh, last time I can run 100 meters in 10 seconds. Now I can run in 9 seconds, my finest hour. No, not in that area. But in personal discipleship. Sure, physically, our outer man is wasting away. Our inner man can be renewed day by day. Can that be true of you and I? I would want that for myself. So a finest hour in personal discipleship. Yeah, there may be, this is to some extent, this physical deterioration, decline, quite inevitable, right? To some extent, to a large extent, in fact. A spiritual decline, is it inevitable? A lot of our seniors live as if it's inevitable. Left to myself, I will live as if it's inevitable. Putting up some kind of front I've been used to in church, a respectability, but that kind of spiritual sensitivity, spiritual hunger. Can that be something that increases over time, even in my old age, such that it becomes my finest hour, personal discipleship? And not just personal discipleship. And if I continue to grow in my personal discipleship, it always overflows in some way. And overflows in service. And you and I may think, what? Final 1/3, how can be my finest hour in service? Before this, I was serving as senior pastor. Final 1/3, no more title already. So how can this be my finest hour in service? Your service has nothing to do with your titles. Service is the impact you carry as a result of your personal discipleship, as a result of your walk with the Lord, as a result of your spiritual hunger, as a result of your spiritual depth, as a result of your spiritual purity, as a result of your love for people. Can those things increase in your final third? Any reason why not? I feel that's what we are called to. I feel that's what I'm called to. So if all those things increase, can it not be my finest hour in service regardless of titles? So that's our mission statement that we have. Some other things concerning our foundational thinking, if you like, before I go on to the organizational aspects. I tell my seniors, the ministry is about me. There's a few of my seniors here in this audience. I don't know whether you remember me saying that. Remember? I hope it shocked them. Which pastor stands in front of people to say, the ministry is about me? There's a sense in which that must never be, right? The ministry is about the Lord. The ministry is about your people. The ministry is not about you. You put yourself last. I wanted to tell my people this. This ministry is about me in the sense that it's about how I want to live my final third. It's my vision for my own life against myself, against my own inclinations, against my own bent. This is how I'm choosing, I'm aspiring to live my final third. If this appeals to you as well, if this says something to you as well, join me. That's what this ministry is about. Everything that we talk about needs to be in some ways defined, but also needs to be embodied. So if you're asking me, wow, if I'm right at the beginning now, I'm starting a seniors ministry now, how do I start? I may say to you, embody this. Be such that you can say a ministry is about you. Not in an egoistic sense, but in that you model this. You make this your own. You own this for yourself. Ministry is about me. We want a ministry to seniors, ministry by seniors. I think some of you have mentioned this just now. Not just a ministry to seniors. The most maybe deadly ministries will be just absorbing ministry, not giving at the same time. We want ministry to be ministry by seniors as well. And later I'll show you some examples of how we do that. The now generation. As I mentioned earlier that when I spoke to my seniors initially, every one of them, a good number of them at least, will say, yeah, the church is about the next generation and so on. What are you then? What are you? Are you the past generation? Are you a superseded generation? Are you a forgotten generation? Are you the unimportant generation? Do you have to think that way about yourself? Why not think of ourselves as the now generation? Remember, not entitled time, but entrusted time. We still have years to live and be accountable for. If we think of ourselves as the now generation, we are far more able to give an account of our lives on that day. The now generation. And then to deal with these deficits that I talked about earlier, Seniors, we think of ourselves as the past. And we think that everybody else thinks of ourselves as us as the past as well, like grasshoppers. Everybody, probably young people, don't want to talk to me, not interested in us. I argue that we are the future. Too much to argue? Too much to contend for? I argue that we are the future in this sense. We are never going to get younger. The younger people are one day going to be our age. They need models. They need examples of what it's like to be frail and yet full of confidence in God. To face dark days, trying days, and yet brimming with joy, excitement, and hope. These past few days, one thing that's very much on my mind is a friend of mine, just 2 years older than me, relapse of cancer. It's hard to tell what's happening every moment. I was speaking to the daughter who is, I think, late 20s. I was asking her, how do you feel about this? What's happening in your family? Of course, it's a difficult time. I was asking more, not so much to get the content, but to allow her an opportunity to articulate. And one of the things that she told me was this: Dad is showing us what it means to die. Can she learn this anywhere else? Can she learn this through books? Can she learn this through her peers? No way. She can't. I mentioned just now, some things need to be defined. They also need to be embodied. You see the impact on her when she sees an example like that. How to die in the Lord. A sense of restedness, facing the biggest test in his life. A sense of restedness, a sense of looking forward to meeting Jesus. Sad, yes. But not only grieving, but grieving with hope. Is my friend the future? Definitely so. As far as his daughter is concerned, he is showing his daughter something. Modeling for his daughter something the daughter can never see anywhere else. The future. Can that be me? As I mentioned earlier, my early images of what seniors ministry is like are not so positive. So I unfortunately, I didn't grow up with very good role models of what it's like to live in this season of our lives. Live purposefully, live productively in this season, right up to our 80s. Prayer intercessors who are fiery in power. I don't have that many models. But can we do something else for the younger people? Provide them with models. Provide them with examples. So they don't have to searching for models like the way we do. If we do that, aren't we the future? Not just the past. We are shaping young people's lives, helping them to picture what it's like when they grow older, 20 years' time, 50 years' time. Aren't we the future? And we dare not assume that young people are not interested. They are interested in seeing authenticity. They're not interested in something fake. They're not interested in respectability. Older people just trying to look respectable, or trying to be dismissive, or dissing them. They don't like that. And rightly so. But they like authenticity. They recognize it when they see it. I want to be there for them. And beyond ending well, we hear this all the time, right? Ending well. Yeah, ending well, end well. There's a sense in which I don't like that. This expression, ending well. Right? Because if in my middle one-third, I've been serving well, I've been well engaged, serving well in my work outside and also in church, and then in my last final one-third, okay, I just kind of maintain that. Would I have ended well? Kind of. Right? I maintain all that. I don't slack. I kind of ended well. But that's not what grips my heart. What grips my heart is final third, finest hour. Live such that is true. And it calls for something more. and merely go into maintenance mode. It calls for a season where we live such that this season eclipses the past, overshadows the past. Whatever you may have been in the past, glorious as the past may have been, the middle one-third, glorious as that may have been, now something more, even greater. Not in a David kill Goliath way, but in a honoring God, in a walking in obedience, maybe sometimes in unseen ways, even greater. Okay, I've spoken a lot about the underlying convictions and so on. I won't go through this because I won't have time for this. There's an opportunity. Well, the slides will be made available to you. So for whatever it's worth, these slides will come to you and you see what you make of this. I want to go on to what's more, perhaps a bit more practical. Sorry. Okay, some of you are taking photographs, so I'll let you take the photograph. This takes some unwrapping, but it's fine. I won't have time to do that. So I'm going to talk about more practical stuff. Okay, so I've barely covered this portion. Okay. So now I'm going on to this portion now. I will skip through some things. Okay, so CFC, so how do we do it? This is the how, the nuts and bolts, how we organize, how we run the ministry for us in Covenant. Covenant is one church, multiple centers. So we have 3 centers. So there are central versus center considerations. Right? Some ministries are central. They apply across the board. Some ministries are center-based, applying only to that particular center. So make a guess, seniors ministry, central or center for us? Central and center. Both. In Covenant, every question that the preacher asks, the answer is always both. That's the essence behind the paradoxes that you saw on the screen just now. Okay, but never mind. So we have covenant groups, which are center-based, and we also have what we call family life ministries. Family life ministries serve the church centrally. And you look at those acronyms there. There's WIC. Any guesses what WIC is? Women in Covenant. And MIC must be Men in Covenant. YAIC will be Young Adult. Oh, excellent. MGIC is Marriage in Covenant. EIC is Elderly in Covenant. No! No, it's not Elderly in Covenant. Okay, this is a bit historical. The seniors ministry is called EIC, Encouragers in Covenant. Okay, it used to be A for Alpha, meaning the young kids, B for Becomers, meaning the teenagers, C for I can't remember what even, D for something else, and E for the oldest people, and E for Encouragers. So it's a historical relic, and we just kind of maintain that. Okay, so E for Encouragers, EIC, not elderly. PIC, Parenting in Covenant. CIC, Care in Covenant. That's our counseling and inner healing ministry. So that's where EIC, our seniors ministry, is located. Platforms. What platforms do we have? This might be of some interest to you. We have center and central platforms. And we also have plenary platforms. Plenary means involving everybody. And we have smaller platforms, MWG, so sorry about this. Ministry working groups and also special interest groups, SIGs. Special interest groups. Okay, so we have 3 key platforms that are central and plenary, meaning for everybody in our seniors ministry. And we also have multiple platforms at a central level, at a center-based level. Now, many of you may not have this central thing, so I'm sorry if I'm confusing you here, but just know that we have 3 different centers. We worship in 3 different locations. Okay, so let's talk about 3 key platforms, which I think may be of interest to you. First key platform is what we call Seniors Unite. Seniors Unite. Saturday mornings, 8 times a year, we gather together on Saturday mornings in one of our centers. This is central, so everybody, people from all 3 centers will gather together. What do? We call this our flagship gathering place. where the entire ministry kind of like we have, people in a chat group versus people who show up, there's always a big difference, right? So this is where our ministry gathers. So far about 120, I guess. Yeah. We'll gather a flagship gathering place. That's where we build community, shape culture. What do we do? Can see it. Can see. Okay, let me try and read out in case it can't be seen. Right at the top is called Bonding Day. This is what happened last year, by the way. Bonding Day. Then after that, first is our identity in our final third. That's the first thing we covered. What's our identity in our final third? I wanted to begin with that, re-emphasizing who we are. And in our identity in final third, we talked about our sonship and also our servanthood. We are sons and we are servants. Another paradox for you. Sons are not servants. Servants are not sons. But we are both. Are we more one than the other? No. We are both. Okay? So that's what I wanted to begin with. That's our identity in our final third. Then after that will be biblical elderhood. Correct? Biblical elderhood. Yeah. What does the Bible say about this season of our lives? So we covered that with our people. And then special interest week, biblical healthy living in our final third, diet and nutrition. We talk about diet and nutrition as well. Not just all the spiritual and other worldly things, but also diet and nutrition. So we had one of our members who gives this kind of talks to come and talk to us about this. Next will be testimony week, joy in adversity in our final third. We had a member from our church who is who's undergoing stage 4 cancer. But despite that, and maybe because of that, has been launched into ministry that far exceeded her expectations. And so we had her talk about joy in adversity, sharing about her situation, sharing about her walk with the Lord in this season. Next, connectedness and solitude in our final third. Connectedness and solitude. What do we need in our final third? Do we need community or do we need alone time? Answer is always both. Yes, correct. This season of life, no more reduced professional communication and so on. Increasingly, we might be more isolated as well, right? So community becomes very important. Coming into community is very important. But do we also need spiritual solitude? Do we need to learn how to spend time on our own together with God? That's the reality that faces us, right? Even those who are married may find ourselves one day being single again. How will we handle that? Do we know there'll be more time where we are on our own? How will you deal with that? So learning what it means to have time with God. And that also fits into this intercessor thing that I was talking about earlier on. Army of intercessors. Okay, moving on. Flourishing in the Spirit in our final third. That's the next thing that's coming up. Talking about how seniors and the Holy Spirit. Empowerment in the Holy Spirit. Right. Tell you a secret. We have Pastor Edmund Chan coming to speak to us. Okay, then Testimony Week, Life in the Spirit in our final third. Then a special interest week will be stewarding our finances in our final third. Then legacy and being forgotten beyond the final third. Does it sound strange to you? Legacy and being forgotten. We live to leave a legacy, right? We live to leave a legacy of good. Yeah? But we also live ready to leave. And ready to leave to be forgotten. Is that important? I think it is. I mean, nobody wants to be forgotten, of course. I don't want to. Left to ourselves, we don't want to be forgotten. We want to be remembered for our contributions. And so I want to be remembered by our families, of course. Or do we want to put people under obligation to remember us? Better not, right? So much more liberating for people who come after us. And we tell them, don't put upon them that kind of imposition. I'm prepared to leave anytime, and I'm prepared to leave to be forgotten. And I can only leave to be forgotten because I have someone who remembers me. And that's enough. Over at the other side, that person doesn't need to hold up my name. Like you see in the airports. No need. Because as I step out there, the other person recognizes me immediately. Because I belong to him. I'm his. He's my father. Sort of freedom, very liberating, I feel. When we are able to leave and ready to leave and live to leave anytime, live to leave to be forgotten. Liberate other people. Okay. Next will be, let's see, where am I? Special interest. We're all relating spiritually with the younger generation. What does it mean? How to relate spiritually with the younger generation? Yeah, whether we are grandparents or not, we have children or not, we need to learn how to relate spiritually with the younger generation. The moment we say things like, "Wow, Lim Keng Yeow," that in Hokkien means uncle or father tell you this is the way. The moment we do that, it's lost. We lose them already. Or we're always saying, 想当年, think of the times in the past, what it's like. Immediately we lose them. But when we learn how to listen, learn how to ask good questions, we're able to connect with the younger generation. And that's what we want, right? We don't want to disconnect ourselves from the younger generation. We want to be of service to them. And lastly, their kingdom purpose exploits in the final third. There are some people I'm thinking of having to come and share their testimonies. 70s, mid-70s. Trying to bring, I never knew this, though. Even just within 2-hour flight from Singapore, there are millions of people without light every night. Do you realize that? Lots of people without light, without electricity every night. And here we have this group of people, a small cluster of people in the 70s, working on bringing light to these people through the church. Isn't that wonderful? So someone in the villages will say, "Hey, far away you can see there's light. How come you have light?" "Oh, the church gave to me. The church is running some event or Christmas, and they're giving out some more lights. You go to the church, huh?" Are we meeting a real need there? Yeah. And what a wonderful way to segue into saying that we are the light of the world. He is the light of the world. 70s, people in the 70s doing this wonderful project. I'm getting people like that to share kingdom-focused exploits in our final third, inspire our people. So these are some things that we do in our meetings. Some pictures. Some of you may see yourself in there. Okay, that's meals. Yum. Should have food. Should. Doesn't mean that without food, ministry will falter. Well, good thing to do. Good thing to have food. Build community after all. Next, annual spiritual retreat. As the name suggests, once a year. So in September last year, we had it in the JB Hotel for 3 days over a weekend. And what did we deal with in the annual spiritual retreat? Our focus was on this. The theme was one thing. One thing. September last year. And in dealing with this theme, we focus on 3 verses with the words one thing in them. What are those verses? One thing have I asked of the Lord, that will I seek after. I dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, gaze upon his beauty, meditate in his temple. Psalm 27:4. Psalm 27, plenty of mess in that psalm. Many enemies, plenty of threats. All of a sudden, David says, one thing. Wow. Makes you sit up and listen. And what is the one thing that he desires? Is this relevant for us as seniors? Amidst all our concerns, one thing. Another verse, Martha, Martha, you are worried and anxious over too many things, so many things. One thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better. Whole difference in posture of heart. Not necessarily that it's better to sit at Jesus' feet than to be working. Sometimes we have to be, but a whole different posture of heart. One comes and bangs the table and says, Lord, why is it that you don't know that I'm busy there? Why don't you ask her to come and help me? Very different posture of heart. And the last one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind, pressing forward to what is ahead. Apostle Paul, how old was he then? Philippians, how old was he then? Final third. Definitely a final third person. And what do we hear this final third person saying? One thing I do, forgetting what lies behind. There's so much he can talk about right in the past. So many glorious exploits that he has in the past. Forgetting what lies behind. Pressing on. Final one-third person. Pressing on. What is ahead? Straining, in fact, forward to what is ahead. What are we straining forward ahead to? It's been said, I just came across this recently in reading one book, I can't remember which book now. When your memories are more than your dreams, you're on your way to the grave. Dreams not necessarily highty-flighty, nonsensical things, but the things that you are straining forward towards. Straining forward towards for. Things that you're intentional about. Things that grip you and cause you want to be purposeful over. Okay, so this is what we talk about at our annual retreat. So the program for annual retreat, we have, of course, the team talk sessions. We have games and competitions. Wow, some people really engage in those games. Very all in the games. Amazing. We have testimonies of different people, group time, sharing, and create safe spaces. Creating safe spaces, very important. That's how you build community and build deep community with depth. And then, of course, some free time as well for people to go shopping. Okay, very important. I mean it. I mean it. The free time is important. Okay, so this was the camp. This was an annual retreat. Okay, let's move on then. I want to end like in about 10 minutes to give us some time for Q&A. So let's... Okay, Day with Jesus. Day with Jesus is our guided silence and solitude time. Now, why is this important? As seniors, especially for us as seniors, there will be more alone time in our lives. We better learn how to spend that alone time with God, how to engage with God, journey with God, so that hopefully less of the alone time is loneliness. But more of the alone time is time communing with God, enjoying His presence, looking forward to meeting Him. We are humans, there will still be time of loneliness, but hopefully with this we learn how to enjoy God's presence in our lives. Okay, so based on the theme. All right, so that's Day with Jesus. That's our third of our key platforms. Then, let's just show you a picture of what it's like. Not that we're actually there. This is just to give people an illusion of space. So far we've been holding it in our church itself, our church building itself. In the past, we've held it at Botanic Gardens and so on. Okay. So it can be anywhere. All right, so back to this. So let's talk about our multiple platforms that are smaller and central. And this is where we have quite a number. Some things that are already happening. We have formed a Discipleship Stories group. Discipleship Stories, Judy, stand up. Tell us what Discipleship Stories is all about. She's the boss of Discipleship Stories. Yeah, just yell out loudly.
Them have longer ago stories, but things to encourage one another. And then we publish them and so it can be shared with everybody. Okay.
Thank you. So she runs a team. She's in the leadership team, and she leads a team that will write the stories, solicit for stories. So testimonies of various ones. So for example, someone who's undergoing cancer, and is able to share about that, or someone who's just been retrenched, or someone who's just retired. What's the person going through? It's very real, right? and what's the person going through, how the person engaged with the Lord in the course of going through these adversities of one kind or another. Or there may be testimonies of someone who is going out to do community outreach, reaching out to the people who are in our nearby blocks or church, and what's their experience? What do they learn from it? Share with people. We post this in our chat groups, so everyone gets to read them. Okay. Intercessory prayer. Intercessory prayer. So we have an intercessory prayer team led by one of our lay leaders as well. We also have a worship team to support our Seniors Unite. One of our members of the worship team is sitting right in front over here, Michelle. Okay, so those are things that are already happening. These are what we call our ministry working groups. Then we also have special interest groups. Special interest groups will be, so many. Let's talk about some of them. YA Vocational Mentoring. YA stands for Young Adults. Young Adult Vocational Mentoring. Isn't this a great way to serve younger people? All of us, we may no longer have the title, but do we still have the experience and the expertise? Did your experience and your expertise suddenly vanish when you take all your things out of your office and leave the office the last time? No. Well, you may not be up to date with some of these things, but your younger people don't need you to be up to date with those things. But they want to hear from you your experiences, your failures. Don't go there and brag about your successes. If they ask you, yes, can tell them. But talk about your feelings in the past. And we want to begin with focusing on vocational, and then from there build a relationship. Perhaps you can go on to something more spiritual. That's a bridge to younger people. Home Alone group, support group. We call it Christ with Us. It's for people who live on their own. So we have a chat group for that, and later I'll show you one or two photos of that. EIC Men. EIC Men will be our equivalent of men's ministry. So men's ministry within seniors. And in our experience, we found that men's ministries are so needed. It's more needed than women's ministries because the men hardly talk. Right? And then men needs to have a microphone in front of them, plonk them there, tell them you cannot move anywhere. You stand there and you talk. Then we can talk. And even so, we can't even talk about deep things in our lives. So we need that. We want to create a safe space. Important word is safe space for our men to talk about things that are going on in our lives. Cajon group, ukulele group. Scripture memory. This is one of the last ones that we just launched today. Kevin is our honcho, our boss for scripture memory group. In a sentence, tell us what this is about.
But a lot of us has anxiety and worry in either way, right? But I guarantee you, with only two little things, everybody can do. And I'm giving you the secret sauce now. Intentionality. You want to do it or not? You know it's good, right? Do you want to do it? Intentionality. And the next thing, very simple. Repetition. Nothing beats this. You can have your own method. Some like visual, some like black and white, some like songs. You choose your way, the best way for you, but repetition.
Yeah.
Do it regularly. And we have a time period, we have a target. We want to finish, we just launched last evening. We want to have the target of remembering, memorizing, and in fact, I call it internalizing 100 verses in a period of time. And even after that, we have a bigger target to achieve.
100 verses. Sounds quite daunting. But we're going to break that up into some low-hanging fruit. Maybe after 2025, we have a celebration and so on. And Kevin's plan is to pair people up, have a partner. So have a partner, you meet with your partner at your own time, once a week, go through that week's verse. So scripture memory. We're so thankful for I think some 40 over were at the Zoom meet last night to hear his plan over this. We hope of the 40, many will sign up eventually. Yeah? So scripture memory, special interest group. Our work in progress will be some other things that we are planning to do, movies and discipleship. Alongside us is a group of people who we hope to train in people helping skills, listening skills. So if someone's going through a rough patch, we deploy an alongside-er to walk alongside with that person. Alongside-ers are not counselors. They just meet with the person once a week, perhaps. The KPI. KPI is to meet with the person maybe once a week, one contact a week, or show the person out for a meal or something. Yeah, just come alongside that person and be a friend to that person. Celebration of life is celebration of life. Funeral wakes, a bit wasted, right? Because that person is not there anymore. Why not have something where the person is still there and you're able to say all your words of appreciation to that person? And why not have that person have something when the person is still alive so the person is able to talk to you and testify of what his life has been all about? A living wake. Possible or not? Not quite done in our culture. Yeah, not quite done. But why not? Celebration of life. Make that something evangelistic. Invite your friends, better still, invite your enemies. Marriage rededication. At 70, at 80, marriage rededication service. Some of our people may not have had a church wedding. Maybe they were not believers when they got married. And now they relish the opportunity to come for a marriage rededication in church. Would that be meaningful for them? So this is some things that we're starting to work on, missions as well. Okay, so that's central. And you'll notice that those activities, they are, I feel, particularly relevant for us as seniors. They're not just things that a community center can do. Right? A lot of things a community center focuses on active aging, they can do cajon, they can do whatever. But for us, cajon, ukulele, the focus is on learning the skill so that we can use that to minister to other people. Not just learning a skill so that you can be in community. That's good in itself. But go beyond that. Make it missional. Make it purposeful. That's the idea behind it. Use that for community outreach. Okay, so center-based, multiple platforms. Okay, I better be ending in 1 minute. Center-based, okay, things that are already happening will be, we have center befrienders because we have different centers, and then we have a visitation team for people who, for whatever reason, are stuck at home, health reasons perhaps. Oh, we have EIO monthly walks. EIO is also a relic, something from the past. EIO stands for Encourages in Outdoors, I'm told. Encourages in Outdoors. That's our monthly walk. So we have 3 centers. All 3 centers, once a month, they organize a walk on Saturday mornings, early in the morning. They go to very interesting places, walk around different parts of Singapore as a group. That's where they invite new people as well, so there are evangelistic opportunities too. So that's very popular. We see them taking pictures, videos, so many pictures. Wonderful. Okay, the sports and recreation, we have a pickleball group, we have a table tennis group, and so on. Maybe some new possibilities, maybe community blessing groups. SLEC stands for St. Luke Elder Care. There's one that's going to be built up next to our Bukit Panjang Center. So we want to mobilize our seniors to serve there. So some pictures, pickleball. Top right is our discipleship stories. That's an example of a story that's been published some time back. Bottom left is ukulele introduction. Bottom right, EIC men's ministry. And our walks, you can see, very popular. People love to go on them. Go to different places. Then, okay, this is visiting community elderlies who live alone at Christmas. And, this is our dinner plus walk down Orchard Road for those who live alone. So take them, we meet together, have dinner, and then walk down Orchard Road together on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, see, some of the seasons, this celebrative, festive seasons, we take for granted, right? There's always family nearby and so on. But for people who live alone, they may not be. So those will be times where they perhaps they feel most alone. So one thing good to do, perhaps, draw them together and take a walk down together. Okay. You may be interested in how we structure ourselves. So A to J will be different members of the leadership team. They handle different things. Okay, you notice that there's so many, that all these special interest groups, right? We want every special interest group to either be led by or supervised by a member of the leadership team. Either directly led by a member of the leadership team or supervised by. What I tell my members of the leadership team is, okay, initially you may have to do more of the leading. Form a core team, work towards passing on to them. Look for one person who's able to take over leadership, then you step back into a supervisory, advisory capacity so that you're able to go on to a next group and raise up another group. Okay, so they're doing various things, and they also take turns to organize Seniors Unite, our flagship event. Every one of our Seniors Unite, our flagship event, everyone is organized by two of them. Okay. Okay, I'll just share these two concluding thoughts. Most of us are familiar with this verse. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? What are the former things in this passage? What was Isaiah talking about just before this? In the verses just before this, he was talking about the Exodus. Exodus. Now, is the Exodus supposed to be forgotten? He says, remember not the former things. Is the Exodus supposed to be forgotten? Can't be, right? You can't believe that. Exodus is such a key moment in their history. There are festivals, Jewish festivals, Passover, for example. Whole idea behind Passover, remember the Exodus. Then why? Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. What it's saying is this. I believe what it's saying is this. Don't keep on saying 想当年. Don't keep on reminiscing with nostalgia over the past. Because I'm doing a new thing. And the new thing will eclipse, will overshadow the past. You will have new things to talk about. You don't have to keep on harping on the old. Because you have not just memories, but you have dreams. I want that for myself. I want that for my seniors. For this to spring forth, even for us in our final third. Flourishing in our final third, the world is looking for answers. Gerontologists, I think that there might be some gerontologists in our midst. That's what you're studying, isn't it? How to flourish in our final third. The world health costs, how healthcare costs are rising. Every government in the world has to worry about healthcare costs. How to keep your seniors engaged, how to keep them in community, so as to reduce healthcare costs, how to help them flourish. The whole world is looking for answers. Does the church have any? Maybe the church should be able not just to define for them, but to demonstrate for them a sense of abundance in our final third. What it means to have life and have it abundantly in our final third. If there's one area in which the church must have some answers for the rest of the world and live out those answers with authenticity, present a sense of inspiration to the world, should it not be in this area of how people in our final third thrive, flourish, live in abundance, live in purposefulness? So that when the world asks, can anything good come out of Nazareth? The church is able to say, come and see. Okay. We have some time for questions. Happy for comments as well, so we can learn from one another. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I can share with you our experience. We're happy to hear comments as well. We have about 10 minutes. 9 minutes, sorry. Yes, sir.
You know, sometimes the senior ministries, you get seniors from other churches, they they hop from seniors ministry to seniors ministry. And then they form the bulk of the church's seniors ministry. And then how do you reach out to your own people to join the seniors ministry?
Yeah.
So that's sometimes there's the dilemma.
Yeah. So most of us are from within. We haven't been actively reaching out to others in our church to come to our seniors ministry. That's because some of these platforms that we're talking about are quite new. Seniors Unite, for example, our flagship ministry platform, our flagship platform is just about 6 months old. So if I wanted to, every sermon I preach in church, I say something about seniors ministry, get people to come, but I didn't want to do that. I don't feel we're ready for a mass of people coming in. So I rather it goes out by word of mouth. So if I'm passing this information on by word of mouth, that person comes, I am immediately communicating to that person already. So the person doesn't come in and feel all lost and alone within with this huge mass of people. So we haven't been doing something kind of en masse kind of recruitment. I don't feel that's what we need to be. We should be doing that at this moment.
There's one question. It says, how do you unite seniors of different languages and backgrounds?
Good question. Excellent question. How do you unite seniors of different languages and backgrounds? Our ministries our seniors ministry is all in English. So we have Mandarin congregations, we have Hokkien congregations, but the people there, Hokkien, Mandarin speaking, they don't join our seniors ministry. Yeah, so they're kind of taken care of within the Mandarin dialect ministry. So that takes care of language. Backgrounds, yeah, there will be differing backgrounds. So we try and focus on things that will cut through these different backgrounds that will be relevant for all. That's what we try to do. So far, I hope we've been able to. Okay, really can't read the question.
Okay, I can. Oh. Okay. Can you read it?
Limited resources, how would I advise the church to start first? One thing that Pastor Edmund has said, that Pastor Edmund Chan has said that helps me, and which we've tried to do as well. Think big, start small, build deep. So think big. You heard me talk about a movement of seniors, not just in Singapore, in the region as well. The Lord opens doors for me. Hope to be sharing these things, different settings. That's the thing, big portion. But that's not something that's on my mind on a day-to-day basis. What's on my mind on a day-to-day basis is start small. Start small, start with a few individuals. Start with people who are resonant over the vision. Start with people who say, Pastor, you want that for yourself? I also want. I'm done with all those retire into nothingness. I want that for myself too. I don't know how to start, but let's do this together. When I was introducing to my seniors this whole idea of final third, finest hour, some of them said to me, yeah, very daunting. On my own, I can't do it. But in community, maybe I can. And so look for a small group of people who really resonate with this. Start a small fellowship. Challenge one another over these things. Dream together. I would say, think big, start small, and build deep. The practical thing perhaps will be, look for a small group of people who resonate with the vision. Okay.
Hey, let's give him a big hand. Thank you, Pastor. Pastor Keng Yeow really, even gave me such deep insights and such great practical examples. I think it's such a wonderful thing to be able to start a conversation like that and to have some practical ideas for us, some handles for us to start with. So thank you again so much for this.